All right, now to other breaking news story today out of Ottawa. Developments in the affair that sparked a political crisis in the Trudeau government. The SNC Lavalin case is going to trial. Now, the explosive chain of events has already seen two high-profile ministers quit the cabinet. Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott were then expelled from the Liberal caucus. The political fallout is still being felt. This week, they announced they'll run as independents in the next federal election. The question that started it all was whether SNC Lavalin should face trial on corruption charges. The Attorney General could have decided, but today it was up to a judge in Quebec. So this is breaking news actually out of Quebec, not out of Ottawa, but of course implications will be felt there. The CBC's David Seglins is joining us now, and he's been following the story from the beginning. Take us through the decision that was made.
So, Arthi, this morning in Montreal, the judge who's been hearing the preliminary inquiry, this is not a finding of guilt or anything, but this is where the Crown gets to bring its evidence and say, look, we have enough evidence, we think we can take this to trial. The charges against SNC Lavalin, $48 million in bribes alleged to have been paid in Libya to the Gaddafi dictatorship to help the company win billions in contracts. That's charge number one. And charge number two is one of fraud. Crown prosecutors, the Public Prosecution Service of Canada, alleging that SNC Lavalin defrauded the people of Libya of $130 million in their bribery scheme. These are the allegations. The judge this morning has ruled there is sufficient evidence. It should go to trial. That means we're going to get a very public look inside this company and what happened here.
And of course, you've been following this for years now, taking a close look at every single step. So what's next?
Well, we're going to hear the evidence. That's really important for a number of reasons. Number one, we're going to find out, we already know in this case that the head of the construction division of this company, the executive vice president, pleaded guilty, was imprisoned in Switzerland, admitting that he paid millions of dollars worth of bribes to win this Montreal-based engineering giant contracts in Libya. The question is now, and what we will learn from the trial, is who else knew? What did the auditors know? What did other executives know? And what did the board of directors, who's supposed to be governing this company, what did they know? So that's number one, public disclosure of those things. If there is a conviction for this company, that means that they will face not only probably a huge fine, but a conviction would lead to their debarment or banning of them being eligible for federal contracts in Canada, which could be a death knell for the Canadian arm of SNC Lavalin. They have all sorts of international business operations. Canada plays a smaller and smaller portion of its global operations, but it would be a very hard thing for this Canadian-based company. I think also another significant part of this is through this whole political scandal, Canadians have become familiar with the power of and influence of lobbyists, the behind-the-scenes pressures about what politicians in this country will do to consider a corporation facing a major legal challenge like this. What is an appropriate way to deal with that? Should they be convicted and debarred and possibly put out of business, or should they go on trial? We've never had a case like this in this country. This will be the biggest corporate corruption case Canada has ever seen. So it will be a very interesting thing to watch as to whether the RCMP and the Crown are successful. But number two, what will the consequences of going to trial and a potential conviction be for this company? And is this the appropriate way to be dealing with these kinds of allegations in a court of law that could see this company potentially being run out of business?
The story is not over, it just begins. All right, thanks for this, Dave. That is the CBC's Dave Seglins reporting.